Hello and welcome to Athletics Check. I am Anthony along with Michael and Tyler. We are joined together for episode 7 of our show, which we are excited to bring to you guys. We've been doing the show for a number of months now. We got all sorts of fun stuff planned for the coming months, shows that we have in the bank right now. But we're here to do what we love to do, and we get together and talk about Dungeons and Dragons and the world of sports. How you guys doing?
I'm great.
Woohoo!
I'm staying
Welcome to
cool.
Athletics Check. We're chilling. We're staying cool in 100-degree heat.
So
I'm
hot.
cooling.
Yeesh. So hot.
Yeah,
out here.
it's
Goodness.
record-breaking heat right now.
It was
Uh,
80 at midnight last night. Maybe
Was it
it's
really?
It's
Yeah.
insane. Tonight
Oh,
too.
buddy.
Ridiculous. We're
I did
burning
not
to a
do
crisp.
well in the heat at all. I'd always rather bundle up in the cold, man. I don't sleep. That's the problem. I just lay there. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
a hot
Thank you.
bath in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my problem. I don't sleep. I'm from a very cold place, and I'm just used to being cold and bundling up. That's what I'm used to. And even just in the
Yeah.
house, I will wear a hoodie around the house in standard-ish weather, whatever. But
Yeah.
this is just insane right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, shout out to everyone in Arizona who like their cars are melting this
Oh my
year
God.
and rubber off
you
their
serious?
tires are falling off. Yeah, no, it's been really, really bad. I had this thing of like chocolate. There was chocolate covered bananas, and I finished them off, so I brought them with me to work. And I left the container in my car, forgetting it was going to be 106. That thing was flattened when
Oh
I
my
got back
God.
in my car at 4 p.m.
No.
It was funny. It became nice hard plastic that I can use, but it's
gonna
nuts.
use that for terrain crafting or something.
Yeah,
now?
I could turn it into maybe a part of my boat that I'm making for the river expedition. Sure.
Yeah.
Wait,
there you go.
whoa! Can we
break that
elaborate and
down.
explore this? Yeah, let's
Yeah.
put that down.
You
Let's pick
never
up
we,
on
we
it.
haven't
Tyler-
talked about terrain crafting yet. have we?
Tyler is a magician when it comes to DIY terrain crafting for D&D. Like
Yes.
I've never
magician. Yeah.
here's the thing. Tyler can turn like anything into like a magical realm, like toilet roll wrappers. I mean, like little pizza, construction paper, everything. Like I just love the creativity comes up with these things, because like I don't even see the world the same way that Tyler does. It's really interesting. And I
This is
love
a-
his commitment to let me hype you up for a little bit, okay,
Sure,
Tyler?
Digging it.
I love the commitment to the DIY aspect of it for you too, because I'm like a little goblin who just loves like gobbling up accessories and everything, and I'm like, oh, warlock tiles, ooh,
Goblin.
Cool. Yeah,
Spending money. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I know. And
Through that, I say.
yes, exactly. And I like that Tyler comes up with these creative solutions to terrain building and stuff using just the stuff that most people
Yeah.
throw away.
I have all my
And
stuff
I appreciate
upstairs, but thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I have all my stuff upstairs, but yeah, I'm making little icons for trees. I'm building anything I can. This is a building that I made. I know people can't see it, but this is all cardboard. And then the top, the roof, the shingles, I actually individually like cut and stuff like that. Those are made out of like what's it called? Cereal box. You can actually see that this underneath, I didn't paint this part. It's Apple Jacks. You could tell. You can see the
Delicious.
green and the,
Yeah.
and the but yeah, just cutting that out.
That's
over
who lives
time,
there
gluing it
now.
all together. And yeah, and now
The
the
mouse,
Apple
the
Jacks.
mouse house.
Yeah. Anthony, I can't hear you. But
I'm sorry, my God. I said so many funny things, you wouldn't believe it.
I believe you.
I was
We
wondering why
don't.
the podcast
We
got so
don't.
dull
Yeah.
so quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just me and Tyler.
Just the D&D side of things.
Oh
We
my
lost
God.
half our
Okay.
audience while you were
Okay.
gone.
I asked you to describe for our listening audience in a seductive manner, but
Oh, very funny.
yeah, that's
Uh,
okay. So
It's okay. It's a
all right,
house.
where-
It looks like cardboard and it's painted and it has little wood pieces on it from popsicle sticks.
Oh,
with
man,
little
you're really
puffs.
revving my
Yeah.
gears right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Happy to help
Okay,
you.
where in Dungeons and Dragons, like, what is the purpose that how will you use this in a game of D&D, or
Oh, yeah.
is it a visual prop
Yeah.
visual
like,
prop.
which is-
I love presenting it to
I
my
love that.
players as a little surprise. Like, hey, guess what? We're fighting in a street. There are some surprise bandits. House, little tree, a little park bench I've made, and all this stuff. Fences to jump all over or jump around. And then on a whiteboard, like I'll draw the city streets, or I'll put some civilians that are
I
in danger.
love you so much. Oh
And
my
then we
God.
battle around it, and the environment just feels more involved. I mean, people get insane.
Oh,
Shout
I'm
out
sure.
to Michael for saying warlock tiles. They get like interconnecting pieces and like looks super clean and legit, and you can almost do anything with them, and they're really involved. But a lot of people now, especially due to the pandemic and playing online, they're getting into virtual tabletops where you just have screen displays and you can design them online, and then just like broadcast like we're doing now over Discord or whatever, and just show people what you've created, and then have little icons that they can move around through various apps of saying, this is my character. I see a goblin icon over there. I'm going to move him through the trees. Oh, past the mud. That's kind of hard to get past.
And that's
really
nice
stay more
too, because
involved.
there's like virtual tabletops that deal with like angles and like lighting and stuff, so you can like really control like what the players are actually seeing.
That's an interesting element that you would add without, from what D&D probably started up in the 70s, to having things like that you're talking about. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, for the
Going
longest
from
time, in my first game that I played, we would straight up go like page by page of like, you're at a T intersection with three other ways to go. Which way do you go? And then he'd say, okay, you guys go left, and then he would draw out what's to the left, and like placing tiles and little things like that. Like, that is pen and paper D&D to me.
That's
that is
OG.
That's OG. We don't have tablets. We don't have our digital character sheets. We don't have the virtual tabletop. It's like, no, I'm drawing out the things and then putting a little Lego where the monster is. It's like,
I have a interesting little historical tidbit. And a lot of the like early D&D material, like the cartographer or the mapper is often like a player role, where the dungeon master keeps like his maps like hidden behind the screen and just conveys it to the party. And then it's their job, one person's job usually, to actually write down with their own paper, like trying to transcribe kind of like what that dungeon looks like. And then like, if you don't, then the dungeon master is just like, well, I don't know, you're lost then. You don't know where you are. You didn't write it down.
You took two lefts, then a right, then you went straight, then you went through an invisible wall, and then you took two more lefts.
Exactly.
Where are you? How do I get out of here?
Yeah. And it was and it's not like, usually in that case, it's like not on the DM side of things to like keep track of that for the party. It's like their job to keep track of it, which in a way I can appreciate, but also a lot of DMs, me, Tyler included, will just write it down. We have the means to like
that, or
show
like
the people.
we are telling a story, and that part of the story of you guys getting lost isn't as important, though you could totally add that in if you want to. But also just like understanding pacing and understanding what the players want out of the game might not always call for that.
Sure.
So, but I can definitely see the appeal of like, we're out of food, we've been lost for days. What do we do now? We have to, figure something out or die, and that's part of the challenge, I guess, the puzzle.
It's good to keep players' attention in that way. Like, hey, you weren't paying attention. You were just on your phone scrolling while I was explaining where you are, and now you don't know where you are. So, deal with the consequences of that. But that's kind of harsh also.
Yeah. So, and now we've got really fun tools to like, hey, I have a map, but I put a fog of war all over it, and as you discover things or as you light torches, I can brighten it up that I can see the whole thing, and you guys can see certain subjects and not get all the behind the scenes.
All right. I love that. And I think
involved.
For, once again, someone like myself who's beginner, not even novice, I'm not even there yet, that would be cool. And I think visuals is a great like enhancement for someone like me. What other type
props.
of visuals are there? Talk to me about visuals and props. I'm sure that, of course, to me, I've like people dress up for Harry Potter, Star Wars, those type of Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm sure that
Yeah.
oh, what do you have
Timers.
there,
I've got
Tyler?
props near me. I love one of my favorite moments is like dropping a timer on a table, dropping a sand timer, and everyone can see, no, you've got this much time. I don't even know how much it is, but you guys need to talk it out, figure it out. I'll answer questions, rapid fire, so that you guys can get out of this, chamber that is filling up with poison or gas or something.
I love
that's
handouts.
great.
I love handouts for players, especially like items. I love handouts like playing cards that have all the information of an item and giving that to players. I love spell cards are also handy for the same reason, like having the full like text of a spell that can be kind of confusing, and being able to hand that out, and also to arrange them in front of you, and like really like if you're a visual person, like being able to see like, okay, these are all my options right here in front of me, as opposed to just having them written down on a piece of paper and trying to understand where that
it's more fun
how that is.
I do love writing letters to my players and handing out.
Love that.
I actually got a wax sealing kit just to stamp my wax letters to give to my players so they can break the seal. I actually have the kit right up there. I was looking for it. I thought it was over here, but yeah, I've definitely put in like the seal of the crown and like, hey, this is an important letter for you guys. You need to address it and send the letter back because we need you to respond.
On a similar note, when we were running our Brelwood game, which was very kind of like pick up random adventures all the time, we actually had a cork board in our dining room with like printouts of actual adventures that people could like look on the board, like it was a quest board, and you could look on the board, read the different hooks that were for various adventures, and then choose one off the board and go and pursue that. And that was like we had that going.
That's a good
for a little while
because you guys had the West March style where it could be any different group of people, and then everyone who just happens to be playing the night can look at the board and say like, okay, let's deal with this ghost problem. Pull it off the board. Let's go investigate this house. We need to talk to so and so. I want to get the 50 gold pieces that's advertised, and it's right there in front of you to relay all your options. That's a nice touch.
West March.
Yes.
That's a like a term describing a style of gameplay for a campaign where it kind of think of it like a decentralized campaign, whereas like maybe a traditional campaign is like there is a storyline, there is a party of adventurers who is progressing that story.
Very linear.
It can be sandboxy, whatever, but like there's usually like a group of people, and that's like a traditional thing, like you see like with Critical Role, or they invite people on from time to time, but like it's usually they have the core
still
group
the main story going for it.
Exactly. Whereas a West Marches style can sometimes be like a couple of DMs maybe, or just a single DM, but up to like 30 different players. And it's the players who decide who they want to adventure with. And then they say, okay, there's a wizard tower on this part of the map. Me, Tyler, Anthony, and so are going to band together and go out there and explore it. Right. And it's the players' kind of choice on what they're supposed to pursue. And while that's happening, other players can say like, hey, I want to go with these 3 people and I want to go explore this cave that I saw over here, or I want to follow up on this, plot thread. And
all
so
happening
it's
in the
like
same world.
And it is more sandboxy, I think, than maybe some other types of traditional campaigns. And it's something that we were trying out for a little while, as we had like a rotating group of people coming in, and some players had multiple characters as well that they were doing and going out on different things with. It's a real fun style of gameplay, but it can also be like a lot to handle,
it could be like, oh, all these plot threads are happening all at once now because of the story. that's kind of going on.
Yeah.
But also it's just like multiple DMs are making multiple decisions and splitting things up and taking ideas or something like that. So there's the pros and cons to it. Sometimes you want the satisfactory of like, okay, we go out and do an adventure, we finish it, let's have another adventure in a couple weeks, as opposed to like the long-term games. I would say I feel like West March is more like one shots with this group that we have tonight, let's get this done.
Yeah,
sure. Okay.
Well, it can't, and it can be that. That's at least how it's been for us. And I was gonna kind of
5
touch
minutes
on
up,
that
Michael.
too.
I'm so sorry. Look at that.
I gotta go, guys.
Prop
All
is
right.
complete. Sorry, dude.
I got map.
I'm calling it, dude.
Yeah. So that's West Marches.
Like
that's 5 minutes on West Marches.
I'm gonna start timing every segment now. Yeah, more. I got a 2-minute over here. 2-minute break.
What's the Tyler? Back to visuals for a second. What's like the most grand thing that you've done?
I'll send you a picture after the show. As soon as you said that, I knew what it was.
Okay.
We had this big climactic moment in a seafaring campaign that I have with my buddies, and we were running this island. I was running it for probably half a year, like maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times a month at the most. But like for 6 months, I was the DM. Taking care. This is the campaign where we all switch DMs, and it's very fun and exploring islands. And we were exploring this island for 6 months real time, about 2 weeks in game time because time is weird.
Sure.
And so basically at the end of it, they had to complete this ritual, but they had to go and do this very special fight in their like the island's arena, and like they had to win it, and they had all these stakes and stuff like that. But basically, I took my big kitchen table and I measured it out, and I took my biggest paper that I have and taped them all together to cover the entire table, and drew a map the size of my table all over. Like there's the arena, there's the water pit they could fall into. Here are the stands. Here's outside of the stands where people are like selling like merchandise for the show. And then I had a giant attack where orcs were raiding, and elves were like some hindering, some helping. And then the party was all spread out throughout this giant area with all my props like pillars and things on the arena to interact with as well.
Okay, so when you do something like that, are you doing it knowing that you'll be the DM that night and have an idea of ways to incorporate the landscape into how you're running a game?
Yeah, so that one was highly prepped for because it was like the build up for 6 months. And so I was like, they're definitely going to have this fight eventually. That's the plot. And
That's
so
like
I was
the
planning
finale.
it. That's like the season finale. It actually was our season finale. We do a seasons in our campaign that kind of just thematically worked that way. But this was like, no, if they don't do this, it's all been for nothing. So over time, I was able to like, okay, they're going to be here. I can commit. I can start coloring. I can start my drawing. I can start making props. And I made little pillars and stuff. They're up there somewhere in my cascading like area of a bunch of props over here. But yeah, I was able to do a lot of prep knowing that they had to go here and take the time to put the details in. Why not? I got almost every mini that I had and placed them in the audience and just made it really feel like it's full of people. And then when a giant shadow dragon attacks, everyone starts running, and you have their turn where you just drag minis off the table and make it really feel like they're experiencing that and feel like there's a difference there with the map. It's cool. I'll send you the picture. I took lots of pictures that day.
Yeah, that's great.
And maybe I'll post it on Instagram. That's what I'll do. Go follow our Instagram, everyone, and check out what the heck Tyler's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Athletics Check podcast Instagram.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Like us, follow us,
check it out.
subscribe, hit thumbs up, all that jazz.
Comment.
Yeah.
Comment.
Tell us what you think.
Tell us what a wonderful job
Engage. Please engage.
Engage with us. Be our buddy.
Yeah. Did we tell you about the virtual tabletop that we built, Anthony?
I don't believe so.
So Tyler had mentioned this, how, some people do like virtual tabletops. We actually built a portable virtual tabletop based on some designs that I had seen online. But basically it's a TV inside of a box that's like, got a plexiglass screen over the top. so that you can connect it to. It's got a Chromecast in there, and it's also got an HDMI cable,
Awesome.
and so that you can connect to it, project a live like map onto it that can have, you know, spatial effects and all the like lighting effects that I was telling you about, sometimes spell effects and stuff like that, and project that on the screens, and then you can have that be the space in which the minis go on to track the thing. And one of the reasons that we made it was because in the game I was playing, in Tyler's game, we were breaking out of a prison, and we played a session, and we spent so much time like moving everything around and redrawing the map and trying to get it all to work. And then we were like, okay, I've wanted to do this for a really long time, like years. I've wanted to do this. Now's the time. We built the thing, and then the next session we broke out, and like we were like running across the whole city, and like we were, you know, different groups were engaging with different enemies at different times, and it was like we were all just like able to pan over between things. It was it made it possible.
It made it
honestly
possible because it was such a large scale that I could grab the map in front of them on the table, sitting, you know, the table facing up towards them. They could look and see, and I'm dragging the map to show, okay, you three are over here going into the house, stealing disguises. And then I drag the map all the way across. You guys are dealing with these guards who are racing past, and you're trying to play the loot, looking like you're blending in with the crowd as they're looking for you.
What? Oh my word.
And just like as so many things are going on, it was able to just like, okay, you guys got to make it all the way to the gate wall to get out. It's going to be turns and turns and turns of actions to get there, you know, and figure out what they do. And it gives the players, instead of just this theater of the mind, which is another way to play, of just like, I'm completely verbal. When I say you're in an orc cave, there's sounds and grumbles everywhere, but there's no light. You can't see anything. You light up a torch and see the cave wall. That's theater of the mind. You're picturing it right now. You're playing D&D right now.
It's all imagination.
And with the cons to that, I would say, I mean, there's plenty, but one con to that is that the DM has to keep track of everything. And this is a situation where we're prison breaking, people are splitting up. I can't keep track of everything. I'm trying to make funny voices for the guards.
And making sure that everyone is on the same page as well. You know, like we're all imagining the same thing. It takes a lot of effort on the DM's part of like describing things. And like I remember hearing the story about a guy, and like he was describing this fight that was happening on the edge of a volcano, and like someone didn't realize it was like an active volcano and like fell into it and died. And then like it was like an issue between like it was a miscommunication issue. It wasn't like the player was making choices that were meaningful. Like he wasn't positioning himself like safely prepared for that, you know. And it wasn't, I guess the issue there wasn't that the danger of that situation wasn't telegraphed well enough for that player, which is a huge thing that, you know, tactical like little boards of like minis and stuff is really good about like communicating. And that's, you know, partially the reason for it is like
it's that you see this lava. If you fall in the lava, you take lots of damage and die.
You take lava damage.
You take
lava damage.
You take.
I think it'd be super helpful for me. I think that all the visuals and stuff like that. I think that only
everything
helps
helps
me to
love playing
at least start getting me or jumpstart my brain into getting in the realm.
Because if you're like, I'm this little guy, I'm running around.
All right, good. Let's get a close up. Let's get a close up.
Well, this is like a druid lady.
Just a generic mini.
Look, she's got orange hair. Look, she's got a staff. I think my wife painted this one. That's why it's good.
Yeah,
with like a little microscope or a little.
She's a good mini painter.
Yeah, well, honestly, Michael has these little headsets that like zoom in magnetically.
Wow. Oh yeah, magnetically. Like they're magnifying glasses.
Magnifying, almost the same word. To get the little details and the.
It starts with an M.
Starts with an M. Close enough.
I feel like this conversation kind of segues well into one of my topics that I wanted to bring up. And it's, you know, the debate on kind of like, is 5th ed D&D in general more of a tactical war game, or is it more of like a medium for kind of narrative role playing thing? And this
I'll take this one. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
I mean,
I want your hot take. I want your hot take. What do you think out of what Michael just said? Tactical war game versus narrative role play.
yeah.
5th edition can go to hell.
Yes, dude. That's a hot take.
Woo! All right. I'm dizzy. Just from like I'm like lightheaded just hearing that.
You should drink water. It's very hot.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Speaking of drinking, what do you guys got going on?
Yeah, water or beer.
Tyler, start us off.
How about a nice guava blonde ale from called Flamingo Planet from Ecliptic Brewing? How about that?
They do such a good job. Love the signage.
Ecliptic.
The beer is good.
Yeah, these ones are seasonal, so I thought I'd try them. They're great.
Can you?
Yeah.
What is it again?
Good summer beer.
Guava.
Guava blonde.
That sounds great. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm into it.
Planet. Go for it before it's out of stores. Get it now.
I got
Michael. What do you got?
I got myself a little mixer here. I got a little bit of
green solo cup. Usually I'm the mixer. Look at you.
Yeah, yeah. I got a little bit of room, some rum,
some rum.
I knew what you meant.
Some Coke.
Yeah, I heard what you meant.
Rum and ice.
Yeah.
Really mixing it up.
That's a 1-in-1 drink, if you ask me.
And what about yourself, Mr. Anthony?
Part 1 tonight. I have a 2-part for tonight. Ooh. I've got the Freem and the Pale. So I think it's one of their classics. Yeah, it's good stuff. Same thing. Good West Coast beer, I believe. I do want to say for sure where they're from. Yeah, it's Hood River.
I think so.
What are you guys? Tyler, yours is Oregon or Washington?
Yeah, they're mostly.
I don't know by heart, and I apologize to everyone at Ecliptic Brewing that I don't know where you're at. Portland, Oregon. Guess what?
There you go. Yep. Okay, I thought so. I thought they were specifically Portland. So.
In the city.
Yeah, very good. Michael, what kind of rum?
Shoot.
You got a little Captain in you?
Don't say Kraken.
It's
Kraken kills.
I don't remember what kind it is. You're putting me on the spot. It's like well rum. It's not.
What kind of Coke is it then?
It came in a plastic bottle. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Pepsi Coke? One. Pepsi Coke? One.
I don't even remember. It's just.
What kind of ice then? What kind of ice? Cubed?
Yeah. Crushed.
Woo!
Crushed. Oh,
wow.
It's cubed.
Special night. It's a special night.
I got the Crusher.
The Crusher. You got to bring out the big boys on athletics check night.
Yeah.
That's right.
The crushed
ice. Should we vibe it up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll do a vibe. I'll do a vibe check.
I do want to show this dice. I know it's not going to show up on camera, but it's got mountains on it. It's one of those mystery die. Cool. Actually, that's not a bad shot.
If you go closer, I think you can make it happen.
The problem is my unstable hand. It's got little mountains on every single face and little tiny numbers that make it really hard to read. But the 20 is just mountains. It's great. I love mountains. I'm a cartographer. Follow me on Instagram at Lassian Maps. It's on the screen.
Hell
yeah. I got a 17. Beat that, boys.
I got a die here that says when you get a 20.
Yeah.
And it says fuck.
That's inappropriate.
When you get
this video is gonna get flagged. This is a family podcast.
Demonetized.
This is a G-rated podcast, bro.
Yeah, well,
not
PG.
anymore.
Not anymore. We get one. You get one in a PG film.
Yeah, you get
That's it.
Well, yeah. Well, this is G.
This is it and children. Say it.
Can you see it and say in PG-13 you get one.
PG-13.
Oh, PG-13.
You can get one in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
There's certain times that the Motion Picture Association of America, whatever it is, in certain cases they'll let something slip, but it is for the most part it's
you got to
grease some palms. Yeah, you got to grease some palms. Get your F-bombs in there.
Yeah,
I got a 16.
Greasing palms and dropping bombs.
That's good.
Nice.
I haven't rolled yet. What do we got?
Come on, man. Time's out, dude. Look,
I got a 17.
17. We tie. We roll these then.
And I got a 16. Wow, look at us. That's our highest roll.
That's a very good vibe.
The show.
Yeah.
I'm following it up with some spicy 4.
No way. I got 4.
Oh, double rollies. Let's go. We're using the same dice.
Oh my god. My mountain
Eat my
died.
7, dude.
Michael just rolled an FU.
Oh, I didn't he? What'd you get? Ooh, loser. Sorry, you're not a loser. You did lose, but overall.
Yeah, I get it. It's fine.
I'll
what were we
take that
vibing
win.
for? Why were we
fought-
vibing?
We can
Just felt
vibe
good?
whatever we want.
I'm just clarifying. I just
Yeah.
didn't
That
know
was
if
for
it was-
funsies.
yeah.
I had no reason. We just hadn't, so I thought we
Yeah.
ought to.
Sure.
Yeah, good. It was a good vibe check because I feel great afterwards now. I won. And it was a tough fight. Double
It was.
17s.
I double 17s to double 4s.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I thought you had me in
Um,
that second half. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man.
I have something that I wanted to talk about sports.
Yeah, let's do that.
We just hit that 30-minute mark. I'm keeping track. I realized that
Timer
we
guy.
haven't really talked about racing sports at all or much.
Mhm.
I don't have a question really, but I guess what do you know about racing sports? I know about NASCAR. My dad
He
likes
wrote-
NASCAR.
He wrote, "What know thee of racing sports?"
I did. I did. Just to don't look at me like that. It's so disappointed.
That's
I
great.
know the of racing sports: NASCAR, F1, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. I know some of those things.
You sound like a true racing fan.
They take lefts.
Yeah.
That's what I know. Lots of left turns. What do I know? I know that Dale Earnhardt was one of my dad's favorite drivers. He died at 49 years old at
In a
NASCAR.
race.
He got in
Yeah.
a terrible crash. I want to say late 90s, early 2000s, 2001.
Whoa.
Yeah, that
2003,
sounds
something
about
like that.
right. Yeah.
That's wild. I
And
had no idea. I'm learning
yeah,
so
and
much.
his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., continued to race.
He was a big star in the early 2000s. I feel like
Big
you would
star,
see
yeah.
him on commercials. I don't know, Bud Light, Wranglers. Like he was the Brett Favre of racing or something like
Yeah,
that. And I
sure.
think he got so much attention because his dad had passed away and he was still
Sure.
in the same profession that killed his dad. Like he was in, I don't know, Mountain Dew commercials and Kid Rock videos. I mean, it just felt like there was a few years there where the non-racing world, like it seemed like they had a breakout superstar, like someone who transcended being, you know, a NASCAR driver.
I mean, I'm at least passingly familiar with all of these names. I don't know their histories or their stories, you know, but
Sure.
but yeah, I mean,
does that make racing one of the most deadly sports? Can you think of other like modern day sports that are also? I mean, football has its injuries, and I don't know, has it had a death?
I mean, during the sport,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, football injuries are nothing
you know,
to sneeze at. Obviously, there's a lot of that also happens after the players retire, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head besides, I mean, the thing is that when cars crash, it is a
200 miles an hour.
It is kind of an event, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a little, you know, when two football players crash into each other, it's not quite the same impact.
When you get a baseball to your skull at like 100 miles an hour or hit back to you at 120 or something. Yeah, no, it gets hockey knocking teeth out.
That's probably one that gets a lot of injuries. Yeah, is not only that, but the skates, the ice skates are razor sharp. I mean, people have been cut with them before.
I didn't mean to laugh, but like, yeah, the dudes punch each other too and try to knock each other out. Like, it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, and there's
Why is that allowed?
Well, there's a culture around it, and from what I understand, there's like positions on hockey teams that are kind of there to be like, the position is called like a goon, I think, and they're there to like go after the other players and like, you know, like keep them off balance.
Off the good players. Is
yeah.
that true? That's nuts. I want to go
You
to
know-
our sports expert over in the corner, Anthony Danute.
Yeah.
Tell me all about hockey players.
You know anything
beating the
about
shit out of each other.
hockey goons? There's one guy in particular that's super famous for it.
Sure,
At
there's a
least
number
that
of
I'm familiar
guys.
with.
It is kind of, it's not like necessarily a specific position like defense, left wing, center, goalie, but a lot of defensemen are in teams want to have that guy who does this. They're an enforcer. They're physical
That's
with the
what
other
it's called.
team. But no, goon is for hockey. Goon is the right term. Other sports will sometimes use goon, but enforcer or things along those lines. But a goon is absolutely the word, to the point where Sean William Scott was actually in a very good dark comedy called Goon. This is, of course, I'm talking about Stifler from American Pie.
Yeah.
If I did say his name.
No, that's right.
I can picture the face. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in a movie. It's a very funny. It's a really great dark comedy called Goon. And he plays, I think he's a Canadian hockey player where he plays that role. And it's a very good, very funny movie. People should check it out. I think there was a sequel that I haven't checked out, but yeah, it is Sean William Scott in the movie Goon. So, and you do see that position in different sports in different manners. Basketball has their different version. Football that can be a number of different positions and guys who are just especially physical or try and get tangled up with the other team's best player, maybe get them ejected by getting them into a fight or by getting them to react to something that you do, that the goon or enforcer does to them. Kind of
piss them off to get them kicked.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the idea is like that the referees oftentimes don't catch the first guy, they catch the reaction to the first guy.
Yeah.
And so you'll see that will happen where a star player or maybe a young player who's up and coming but doesn't have the right mindset to not get flustered in that kind of situation where the other team is doing that specifically to annoy you, to tick you off, to antagonize, to try and get you to either make mistakes on the field or to take your brain out of it, that you do something so stupid that you actually get kicked out of the game. So it is an important role for many teams to have that type of players. I think they are less prominent now than they used to be, but I think for many years in a bunch of sports, hockey, of course, they're still, I think, the most prominent.
Yeah.
So much strategy to go into just that alone, to like, who do we want to get kicked out of this game? Who's pulling this game right now? Who's in the hot seat? And then not to mention all the actual sports behind it of like, okay, how do we break through their defenses in other ways? And, what other flaws can we catch and take advantage of? That's
I'm really upset. I've been trying to figure out this one particular guy who's like a known hockey goon who's like, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And I've been trying to find out if something that rings the bell, but yeah, just not. I'm gonna think of it and I'll come back to it next time.
Okay, we'll see you next episode, Michael.
Thanks. I gotta go.
He sits in the corner and thinks to himself. Write it down. We can definitely come back to that.
Yeah, I gotta figure it out because my roommate is also going to get on my case if I don't remember, because it's his favorite goon and he tells me about him all the time. So I gotta figure it out.
If I name some names that I just pulled up here.
Go for it.
Dave Tiger Williams.
I feel like he's active right now is the thing, or he has been active very recently. So he's not like a classic goon or something like that.
Okay.
Classic goon was my nickname in high school.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I feel like that was me in high school as well. The classic goon.
You guys mentioned a few things there in that segment that I wanted to touch on. Originally we were talking about NASCAR and then a little bit into football and some other things. And in football they say that certain players, running backs and linebackers, linemen, that each game they're going through multiple car accidents in each game. So that a player running at you at this amount of speed and force is equivalent to a car accident of however many miles per hour. Like they have I think it's
Wow.
all calculated. And basically a number of players, especially the non-skill position players, and even them at times too, can take the biggest hit. Think about a wide receiver looking at his quarterback to catch the ball, not knowing when he catches the ball, he's going to get nailed by a linebacker. That's called being hung out to dry by your quarterback. So quarterbacks, a lot of times coaches will yell at their quarterbacks for putting their wide receivers in that position. You'd rather them catch it in a position where they can run away from defenders. But NFL players, football players anywhere, it's like going through multiple car crashes game, especially you think of how fast and how strong players are, how big they are. And I know we mentioned a little bit about deaths on the football field. We almost had one last year, actually. Monday Night Football, I believe it was. It might have been Thursday Night Football. I don't recall, but it was a primetime game where it was the only game that was on at the time. You know, there's a few games that are on Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football are on for every television market, you know, in the United States, right? And a player, Damar Hamlin, I believe his name is, I think he maybe took a cleat to the chest and his heart had stopped. He had to be revived on the field during a national game. They stopped the game for the first time. I mean, this never happens where they actually don't, come back out later or anything like that. I think it was early in the game, and he had to be literally revived on the field.
Whoa.
And wow. It was in the hospital for a number of days. There's other controversies and really ridiculous conspiracy theories as to that he did die, and there's someone else who's impersonated, like just some stupid wild stuff that's ridiculous. But
some tinfoil hat stuff going on there. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's like, I don't know why it's gotten as big as it has. It's really silly. I think part of it is a joke, but some of people are absolutely ridiculous.
Part of it is I'm guessing just like how weird and rare this kind of information is. So it's like they're just blowing it up, you know,
right.
because of
a player's heart stopped on the field.
Yeah.
And I think it
the
was
more you talk about it, buzz and
right.
Sorry.
Right.
Wow.
So something else I remembered from football. So 2001, a Minnesota offensive lineman, Corey Stringer, died during preseason or training camp, and this was due to heat exhaustion, which is a sad reminder of today. Which terrible way to go. Like, you're a professional athlete, and your coaches and everything, like, they should be taking care of you. And that's like just an absolute tragedy. And we've seen players, sadly, for NFL be paralyzed or break their necks, or we talked in a recent episode about changing the kickoffs and returns for those type of reasons, because those are the times that players were suffering the worst of those. I think
talk about a car crash.
Range, Rutgers player. Yeah, exactly. Like those are the situations where players get hurt the most for the longest terms, and permanent terms, which is just awful.
Yeah.
Players recently in basketball, we've seen a lot of random heart conditions where players. This actually happened to LeBron James's son just over the last month or two. Now goes to USC, University of Southern California. And this will be his freshman year. But basically, he's going to go. We know he's going to be in the NBA in less than a year from now.
That's a good basketball like college, right?
Sure, number of very good players from USC, UCLA across town more so, but USC, their rival, still a very big basketball school. More so football, but still important basketball school.
Yeah, just sports in general.
Yeah,
I hear about players coming from those colleges all the time. So
yeah, and Bronny James is his name, and he just had I think it was a heart related issue.
His name is Bronny James.
Yeah.
Named after his father, they say.
Cardiac arrest.
I don't know why I'm
18 years old.
This is wild. I don't know why this is surprising to me, but I didn't realize that LeBron James had like a child or any.
He's got at least three, two of which are NBA prospects. So he's got Bronny, who will be in the NBA a year from now.
How old is LeBron?
LeBron is
46. My money's on 46.
He still plays too, right?
And at a very high level. He's better than 95% of the players still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's 38 years old.
38. What did I say?
Yeah, you said 46. He'll be 39. I think his birthday's around Christmas. December 30th. There we go.
December 30th.
But so he has another son who I think is 16, and so he has another son who will be in the NBA in just a few years.
Wow.
And he has been
He's going to
planning
play against his sons.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to as we kind of segue to basketball here for a second. He has kind of had his agent and his free agency situation calculated to be able to play with one of or both of his sons.
Dunk on him.
So, well, his goal is to be on their team. That's his goal.
Oh,
okay.
Amazing.
So
that's a better outcome than I was predicting.
So in the NBA, he'll get drafted, but you're kind of I don't want to say property, but you belong to that franchise.
Yeah, we talked about similar stuff with Damian Lillard and like him wanting to go to the Heat and stuff like that.
Right. So LeBron James has tried to make it so he's a free agent, so he can kind of choose which team he goes to, basing that off of who ends up drafting his son, or maybe he waits and stays with the Lakers for a little bit to go with the second son, and see how that all.
That's huge. People are going to be clawing to get Bronny then.
And so exactly, and that's actually hyping up him as a prospect, as if his name alone being Bronny James wasn't enough. Yeah. Now his dad is actually planning out his free agency to try and play with his son, one or both of them, depending on what happens.
Bronny is getting a championship, man. I swear.
Is he good though?
It's a huge deal. He's good, but he's not. He's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be a consecutive all-star type of player. I think he can be good, but I don't think he's going to be like he'll have a long career in the NBA.
I mean, he's a rookie right now, right? Like he's
next year he will be. Next year will be.
Or next year.
This will be his rookie year in college, as he'll be a freshman this year in college.
Got it.
And he'll be what's called a one and done. You play 1 year in college and go off to the NBA.
Oh, sure, yeah. Get drafted. Yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome. Actually,
that's wild. Have we ever do you know of any other like dynastic sort of like lineages?
I got a great a couple.
I mean,
ones.
We talked about Dale Earnhardt and obviously Dale
Earnhardt
Jr.
That's a great one.
And then we're talking about LeBron and Bronny.
So Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the names. There you go.
They hit back-to-back home runs. They were in the outfield next to each other.
They're stealing each other's fly balls.
Yeah. Ken Griffey Jr. would cut off his dad and take a ball that was going to be his pop fly.
That's going to be LeBron and Bronny now.
Yeah.
They're going to be stealing the passes from each other.
Dunking on each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Alley-ooping to each other.
Yes,
that's wild.
Passing the ball to each other. I'm out of terms. What else do you do?
The ball and
dribbling the ball
in proximity to each other.
But I'm getting to that point where I'm in my mid-30s, so a number of the players that I watched growing up, I am now seeing their children be prospects or even
that's right.
already played and retired in some cases. It's pretty crazy.
What is time?
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's wild.
I want to touch back to something you said. You said when we were talking about football, you said a non-skill position. Can you remind me of that?
Sure. So so a skill position player would kind of be like players who touch the ball and who are fast, or people who like. Basically, I'm saying running backs, wide receivers, guys who catch the ball, run the ball, score touchdowns. Yeah. You could argue that it's non-linemen. You wouldn't say your offensive lineman, your defensive lineman. You don't consider them skill position players, not necessarily linebackers. But it's usually for offensive players who are your catchers and your runners.
Cool.
Yep. Tight ends and tight ends to a certain degree as well.
Very cool. And then I had a question pop up in my head. So you said that coaches in football, especially, are like yelling at their quarterbacks to change the plays and do all this. I kind of have two questions. Are they able to talk to the quarterback in their headset? Is that why they have the headsets and like yell at them and the helmet is just like super loud?
So that's a combination of different things. So one player on each team at a time has on a helmet with a headset. So there's one on defense. Usually it's a middle linebacker. That's not always the case. And then on offense, almost always the quarterback.
Yes, of course.
So you also, not just you have the coaches on the sideline, the quarterback with the headset, you also have oftentimes your offensive coordinators or other coaches in the booth, with other, just so they're able to see the game from different areas and say, this is what we're seeing. So sometimes you'll see offensive coordinators on the sideline with the coaches, with the players, but sometimes you'll see them up in the booth and they'll be calling plays from there. So plays could be called by the head coach, offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, all sorts of different things. But the quarterback is the one who has the helmet with the headset on, so he can relay what those plays are. In other forms of football, the quarterback has a wristband is another thing they can go to. They can also call audibles that changes plays from different types of runs, passes for different distances based on what they're seeing in the defense. In lower levels of football, easy for me to say, you might send a wide receiver in for a different wide receiver because they're out running routes and maybe getting tired that way. And the coach will tell them we want to run Oklahoma 46 left, something along those lines.
Code word.
So you're kind of you're changing a player out each play, and they're bringing the play to the quarterback to the huddle.
Busy work. Yeah. That's awesome. My only other question to that, you kind of answered it, but who is making the decision? Is it all coaches? How much of it is the quarterback to make sure that play gets done, but also to make the decision on which play to pull?
Quarterback's kind of nickname is like the field general sort of thing, isn't it? So like they're kind of making like more tactical decisions, but the overall strategy comes from the defensive or offensive coordinator. Am I off base here?
No, I think you're onto it there. So like I said, there's a number of different people who could be calling plays. It's usually one of those three. Head coach does it, offensive coordinator, maybe the quarterback's coach, but usually offensive coordinator or coach. And then really the amount that the quarterback is able to ad-lib change plays at the line is based on how much and how well they know the offense, how long they've been in the league. All those things are important for trying to determine. But you look at it, the quarterback has the last say, right? Like if he changes the play at the line with 5 seconds left on the play clock, you're running with the quarterback through, and he really has final say based on what they see out there. Yeah. And you'll see as quarterbacks get older, more mature, more time in the league, they have more to say in the offense, and they might even, change plays or change players to, okay, I want not just change this play from run left to pass right, but throw a player in motion, put someone on the other side of the field, a number of different other things that you can change, or even the blocking scheme. So you have a lot of different stuff going on before the play in football. Yeah. So there's so much, but I would say a quarterback really has final say when it comes to it.
That makes sense why you see a guy like all of a sudden the play's about to start, then he'll sprint up the field to get a little bit further away. It's like, oh, why did he do that? He just feels it in his bones. Like, what's going on there?
Yep.
No, it's usually, it's like a code. And then like, how often do you think quarterbacks like, like Patrick Mahomes or something like that level of quarterback is like making those calls versus, I don't know, some of the other quarterbacks that are not Patrick Mahomes, because he's like number one in the league right now, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he has one of the most, probably like the most vast repertoires of plays available to him to change, or that he has probably as much or more control than any other quarterback. Aaron Rodgers would be up there as well.
Sure.
That they have the most say in what and how they want to attack another team, what plays they feel most comfortable with.
Who's the guy who's played forever? What's his name? I don't remember. The guy for the Patriots.
Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Sure. He's another one. Absolute field general. He can call his own plays. He's
been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah. He knows all the different adjustments and minor things to do to mess with your defense. And Peyton Manning also was great for using all 40 seconds of the play clock to any little thing he could do or see in a defense to try and get down to the last second, because defenses will disguise what they're doing. They're not just going to line up and then come at you as you think. More so, and more so that we see in today's NFL, you might see some really bizarre defensive setups where instead of the classic like 3 or 4 defensive linemen, 3 or 4 linebackers, and then 4 or 5 defensive backs trying to cover the pass, you're going to see 4 to 6 guys lining up in really weird spots that you don't know where they're coming. Maybe only one guy actually has their hand on the ground. Maybe you make it look like 6 guys are going to rush, that it's like an all-out blitz, but you end up dropping 3 back into coverage to stop a screen pass or whatever. Like,
so who's making those calls on defense?
So
defensive coordinator,
typically the defensive coordinator, but same thing. It could be the offensive or the head coach as well. Every coach, most coaches are better at one or the other. They came like when you have a head coach, he wasn't just a head coach everywhere he's been. He probably worked his way up as a position coach, then offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. So if your head coach came from being a running backs coach or something like that, he probably will call the offensive plays where you're going to let your defensive guys who have always been defensive guys call those plays. Wow. So each team, you have 2 play callers, basically. I would say it's rare that a head coach does all. I'm sure that's the case still quite a bit, but typically it's separate where, it's done on they're different teams almost. They have different rooms. In NFL, like you're a quarterback, so you're on the offensive side of things, but then you also have the quarterback's room where it's just you and the quarterbacks on your team, plus the quarterback's coach, and then maybe the head coach too, since that's such an important position. But every position have their own groups, their own things that they do, not just offense and defense, but then how you break up. You have your safeties coach, your cornerbacks coach, your linebackers coach, your defensive lineman
coach,
all sorts.
That's crazy.
It's. I mean, you look at these coaching staffs and they're giant to the point where sometimes we'll look back on a coaching staff from 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and you'll be like, look at all these guys. 5 of these guys are head coaches now or about to be, because coaching staffs are just so big. But when you have like a good young coaching staff, you could end up where you look around and you're like, wow, the coaches who coached under this guy who won a Super Bowl all branched off and now have their own coaching trees, it's called. So like, and people will talk about that of, oh, this guy worked for this guy going back to the 80s and winning Super Bowls, whatever, with the Giants or whatever it might be.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's
that's a whole game on itself.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. I was gonna just say that. I was like, that's a whole side of football that like gets way less talk than like the players and all that kind of stuff.
We could probably do a whole episode about coaches and turn it into like DMs as well, of like how you rule call, because I have so many questions about coaches, because that's just football. I know that there's pitching coaches in baseball, head coaches in basketball. How active are those coaches with yelling at their 5 guys on the court, and what plays are they calling for the it's interesting because the Steph Curry's, what's Steph Curry's position?
Forward
or whatever.
He's point guard.
Point guard. You incorrected me. Damn it.
That's all right. And some would argue that he's a shooting guard, but without a doubt, you would say he's a guard.
I was reading that there's a lot, or maybe you were telling me about this in the last episode. Now I can't remember, about like there's more hybrid positions now.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that.
Okay.
And it was his. I talked about how Draymond Green, his teammate on the Warriors, really helped break the mold to be.
That's right.
To kind of be one of the most hybrid players, because he's under average size, but guards the biggest players, but in switches on defense, guards some of the fastest players. He can guard any player on the floor, whether they are way faster than him and 4 inches shorter, or 6 to 8 inches taller and 270 pounds. I mean, Draymond Green's really a special player, but that was part of the conversation that you're referencing.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, how much of those coaches are talking to them, and how many shot calls are made in basketball compared to all these other subsections of coaches? I feel like we could really dive into that too. That's cool.
Basketball I feel like can be a little, like each coach can really have their coaching staff set up in many different ways how they want. Whereas I think football and baseball, it is more like this guy does these things with these players
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. It's a little bit more specialized, I guess. Whereas basketball, it can be a lot of different possibilities. Really, any different which way it could go.
That's cool. I'd love to
Yeah.
expand on that.
Yeah.
That sounds rad. Yeah, I'm just thinking about all the times that I was watching the World Series and seeing the New York Yankees head coach. I forget his name, but always seeing them
Joe
on the
Torre,
sidelines.
manager.
Yeah,
Yep,
Joe, you know it.
managers in
Yeah, you
baseball.
know it.
Yep.
Sitting on the sidelines, straight face, thinking about the plays, thinking about everything, and how much they put trust into their pitchers and catchers to make the calls and get the strikeout and get the guys off the base, get the outs.
Yep.
So, yeah, well, that's very cool.
I'm wondering how that, the coaches and stuff on basketball teams are broken up because there are less people out on the court at one time.
True.
You know?
When do you switch them out too, and all the science behind that, and because
Yeah,
I know that they're switched out less often, right? There's kind of like openers and closers for basketball, or first half, second half, kind of.
In some ways, this is the one I have the most experience with. Like, I've coached basketball in
Yeah.
a number of different levels for over
how did
a
I not know
decade.
that?
Yeah, basketball is my number one. This is what I always say is I've done everything there is to do with the game of basketball.
We should call you coach from now on.
No.
Oh my god, what are we doing?
All right. No.
I love that. I love that.
Like,
You call
gave in
me-
immediately.
yeah, you call me Dungeon Daddy. I'll call you Coach.
That's an interesting trade-off.
I just want to be
But hey,
Michael.
I'm into it.
I don't
Thanks,
know
Coach.
about yeah. I feel like this is a weird dynamic.
Michael,
that
you're
I'm-
in the middle
I'm
of
in the
this,
middle.
man. I
Yeah.
know.
I'm just gonna call everybody by their first name. That's
Coaches to the left of me and
coaches
Dungeon
to the
Daddies
left.
my right.
That's great.
Dungeon Daddies to the right.
Here I
Amazing.
am,
Stage
stuck in
right.
the middle.
You'll be our Michael. or
I
Malcolm.
Yeah,
I
so
had another topic I wanted to ask you about, Anthony, in particular.
Okay.
Give it to me, Dungeon Daddy.
Is that gonna get edited out, or is that staying? Is that
That's it.
staying in?
That's staying in.
That's it.
That's getting
Wow.
promoted.
That's-
getting promoted
yeah.
on IG.
That's gonna get boosted. That's gonna get volume boosted in the edit.
Can I get
My
a deep
God.
fry? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your new? What's your new topic?
I wanted to switch topics back to D&D a little bit, but this is kind of like a little bit pop culture kind of in a way too. Are you familiar, Anthony, with the alignment system in D&D? Does that mean anything to you when I say that? So, have you ever seen like people talk about like like this character has like lawful good tendencies, or like is a chaotic good sort of person, or the opposite, like lawful evil, chaotic evil, that sort of thing? Does that ring a bell at all for you guys?
It does for me. I know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah. I was wondering because like that I was wondering what your sort of like exposure to that concept it was as a burgeoning D&D player.
Speaking of exposure, I'm sorry, Michael. Can you run that back for me one time?
He totally dunked on his question with a side comment that only us can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh
And totally cracked and totally
yeah,
broke us. Yeah.
no problem, man. I'll just
I'm sorry.
I'll
We'll
rehash.
just sit here all night. That's okay.
Yeah.
No, I loved it.
It's
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
so alignment is a feature of characters in D&D, and it's kind of like waned in like importance as time has gone on, but it's like how you kind of like can think about sort of like your character and like role playing them and stuff like that. And like there's two axes classically, so you get 9 different alignments. There's a good versus evil with neutral in the middle, and then there's chaos versus law with neutral in the middle, and then you can have a combination of those things, like I said, like lawful evil or chaotic good, and those like kind of what they say on the tin is just like those characters maybe act a certain way. And the reason I ask if you've seen it in pop culture is because like people sometimes like to apply that to like the Joker, for instance, is like a chaotic evil leaning character, as opposed to Lex Luthor, who's like a lawful evil, sort of like big business, kind of using the system for his own nefarious needs, as opposed to, Superman. I'm using DC as an example here.
Yep.
You got Superman, who's like described as a Boy Scout, who a lot of people might say is like a lawful good character, which in D&D terms would like put him on the same playing field as like paladins and stuff like that. And then you have what would be good chaotic good? I'd say like someone like kind of Green Arrow, if we're sticking with DC terms, is like a chaotic good.
Okay, go DC or go Marvel for this one.
Who's a good chaotic good person? Not Iron Man. I would say maybe Thor. Thor is a good example of a chaotic good kind of person here, because this is kind of at least in the MCU, he's more of a free spirited kind of good guy.
Sure.
Less concerned with like laws
Property
and all
damage.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, property damage. He's like, I like this, another.
But overall,
that
he's
sort of
destroying evil and like helping out the good of
Yeah,
people. But yeah, still like kind of crazy in some ways,
as
brings
opposed
on the
to
craziness.
If we're talking MCU, like someone like Iron Man,
neutral, probably neutral good. He could be respectful of the law, but he could also be chaotic in the way that he abuses things.
And an arms dealer, I mean.
And an arms
That's
dealer.
the thing. Yeah, I think he's an interesting one. I was gonna say lawful good because he's one of the good guys, but like he also
Captain America lawful good, doesn't even swear, like
even
has
more,
rules he follows, respects his enemy
yeah.
and stuff like that, and
different sides of the same thing. But that's the sort of that's their kind of like what you call it, their standoff between each other is they kind of represent different things in my eyes of lawful good.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying like maybe Tony is more of a lawful neutral, where he's more like, because he does the whole like trying to register all the superheroes, and he's like very
such a great storyline.
Yeah. And that's part of like what the Civil War timeline and stuff was about, that. And so I guess with all of that kind of laid out before you, I guess, does this ring any bells for you at this point? Like, does this?
Yeah, no, I think I get what you're saying. And I don't have a great idea, of course, of like the characters and how of D&D and how they would do those different things. I mean, I guess I could certainly take a shot and guess as to what might.
Great pop quiz time. Here we go. Snow White. What alignment is Snow White from the Disney
Chaotic
series?
Evil. Chaotic
Evil. You know it. The witch did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
The witch did nothing wrong.
A nice lady.
Yeah.
She just offered a nice apple and a bite of a green apple. No big deal.
Yeah.
That's nice enough for me. But yeah, alignment is great. Alignment is also less. I feel like it's less used in 5th edition. It's just like there were so many things back then of like, you can't get through this door unless you're a lawfully good aligned person, or you can't touch this item unless you have chaotic evil in your heart and you are hell bent on destroying the world.
Was that kind of restricting?
Yes. And even more so, there were like classes in D&D that forced you to be certain alignments, like druids, for instance, which are like nature spellcasters, had to be neutral in some aspect. They could not be one of the 4 like extreme alignments. They couldn't be a lawful good druid. They couldn't be they had to be lawful neutral or neutral good. They couldn't be an extreme because they were kind of, the idea is, I guess they're trying to promote balance. You know?
Well, yeah, balance, and you have to, like, let's say you're fighting for nature and you're prioritizing nature. These guys come in, they're just trying to make a quick buck and lumber some of the trees in your forest, and
Yeah.
you kill them. That's a very evil act, but you're defending the forest. On the
Right.
other hand, you're the defender of the forest too. So like all these like evil entities that are coming through, or you're a protector of little small animals and stuff. So you're good for them. And it's just like it's very easy to be neutral
Or
on
like
that alignment.
clerics.
Yeah, go ahead.
Clerics, for instance, could only be like one alignment step away from what their patron deity was. Like if your god was lawful good, you were either good or lawful neutral or lawful good. Those were your options. You couldn't be an evil person worshiping a good god. And you know, in a way, that's kind of like one of the reasons why I think that restriction has gone away, is because that forces you to tell certain kinds of stories and precludes you from telling other kinds of stories. Like what if I'm a good person worshiping an evil god, or vice versa, that sort of thing. Like there are those types of people who exist, so why can't we tell
Yeah.
stories about them?
What
Or
happens
yeah,
when they're living their life and that gets revealed to them of like, no, my God only wants me to do evil things. Do I change and become like that, or do I break this chain and lose my magical connection?
yeah.
There's plenty of storytelling within it as well, I think,
So
which is up to you whether or not you want to include.
and it's yeah, it's had a lot of evolution as the editions have gone uh had come out over time. Um but it's more of a it's definitely more of a flavor text in thing nowadays. Like you see it pop up in some spells sometimes or some creature abilities, but it's really just like, you know, do your spirit guardians, are they angels or are they little goblins, like that's the extent that it gets to these days. It's like
Yeah.
visuals and stuff. It doesn't change a whole lot.
Yeah.
um
They're trying
but
to make characters more versatile now, and like you can kind of do
yeah,
whatever you want and make it make sense for your story that you want to tell as your character and whatever. So
yeah,
alignment's cool. I like messing with alignment a lot. I think it really helps me get into character of like, no, this character can justify doing that. I don't mind stealing, but I'm not like gonna steal from. I'm Robin Hood. What's Robin Hood's alignment, Michael?
Sure. So
yeah.
what? So what
Just
that
love.
Chaotic
helps
good.
you?
Got it, good.
Chaotic good. So that helps you sort of in decision making as this character, or
Yeah,
kind of getting under the hood of this character.
and that's what I
Yeah,
think it's
I
best
would say
at,
so.
is like it's really flavorful to have it as like part of the mechanics of the game, and I think that's interesting um for a style of play. But like that's the thing that I think that most people get the most use out of it is, or at least what I get the use out of it is, okay, I'm playing a true neutral character. How am I going to portray that over the course of like the time that I'm playing this character? How strongly am I going to stick to the concept of neutrality as like a, you know overriding force, or
Mm.
do I just not care about morality at all? These are
I feel
good
like there's a
choices
narrative.
to take.
Yeah, I feel like there's a narrative thing here. Sometimes with like sports as well. Like, don't you feel like in sports stories there could sometimes be like a bad boy who's like getting results, but he also like gets a ton of fouls on the team, and there's like this other kind of opposite character in a story or a player in a story that's like I'm being I'm always the good boy. I'm always like doing my best on the field. I'm the young upstart, all this kind of stuff. Um, I feel like that could even take place in sports of seeing like the narrative, especially if like drama happens on the field and all this stuff, and the ruthless so and so boxer versus the very peaceful, respectful boxer, and you know that kind
I
of
feel
stuff
like
that can
this
happen
is
all
like
the time.
uh seen in like wrestling more so
Yeah,
than is like heels and faces. You know
the
what I
Babyface.
mean?
story.
Baby
I
faces and heels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
I like this topic though. I think we should do I think we should do another show where we kind of talk about like the good versus evil in sports.
Good.
And
Okay.
a lot of that is going to be the David Goliath one is very easy because if I'm watching a football game, a basketball game, a baseball game where it's the Yankees, it is the Cowboys or the Patriots. The Cowboys haven't had the success, of course, of the Patriots. That's why I'll use them just of the last 20 years. And then maybe like the Lakers or Celtics in basketball, where they're going to be the Goliath, but the small town team, we talked about the financials of it all and viewership and not being in a big market versus a small market and nationally televised games and things along those lines. It's easy for someone who isn't a fan of either team to root for the underdog. Maybe you're rooting for the 16 seed from Northwest Dakota State technical college, whatever, versus Duke.
Right.
Things like that. So I think that's kind of an easy one to jump on, where it's like they're the little guy. That's who we're going for, you know?
Yeah.
But there's other ones too, where I think teams and some very successful teams throughout the history. There's a team in Detroit that won back-to-back championships leading up to Michael Jordan's dominance in the NBA. They're called the Bad Boys, the Detroit Pistons of 1989 and 1990. They were a team of heels. When you look at this roster, Dennis Rodman was one of them. He won 2 titles. He went on to be an even bigger heel with the Bulls, or later in his career. So I think that's an interesting topic that maybe we could do a bigger dive into. I think deeper dive,
Sweet.
if you will.
I mean, yeah,
I love that. Perhaps next time.
On Athletics Check.
We've hit that mark. I think it's a good time to sign off and get everyone excited for our next episode.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We should roll.
Should we roll up for it? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do
another.
Let's do a vibe.
Let's roll up.
I want to get a triple vibe off.
Ooh.
I got a 3.
What you got, Tyler?
I crit if I'm a champion.
You got a crit?
I crit if I'm a champion fighter in 5th edition.
Oh, so you got a 19?
I got a 19.
I got an 18.
Ooh.
So I crit if I'm a very high level champion fighter.
That's true. Champion fighters is a subclass. So fighters the class, champions a subclass, Anthony. And their special ability is that they have a higher critical hit chance to deal more damage. Yeah. Normally a 20 on the D20 when you're attacking something crits. Fighters can crit on 19. And then later they can crit on 18 and just have more potential. You have a 10% chance to crit every time.
What's crit?
Crit is
you do more damage.
Critical hit.
You do more. Okay, all right.
And it always hits.
Yeah.
Like 5% chance you will always hit something. That's the idea.
Can I run down a few things and I'll get us out of here? But in the meantime, will you guys think of a Paul Rudd movie that you want to include in your where we pay respects to stuff, where we plug our plugs?
Okay, definitely. Yeah.
All right, you guys look those up because I've got mine ready. But in the meantime, I want to talk about just to touch on a few things, stories or other things that we talked about in the episodes while these guys check it out. Earlier in the episode, Michael asked about generational families. Just looking up through the NFL, I wanted to see. I know of father-son combos and things along those lines, but I wanted to look for third generation situations in the NFL. Looks like the Cup family, including Cooper Kupp, is 3 generations. Pine, I'm not really familiar with. Matthews family, Bruce Matthews, Clay Matthews. I want to say he even had another brother who might have played for a little bit. There's like 4+ Matthews that played. It was like a brother or, a Hall of Fame player and his brother, and then his son makes the NFL, and then maybe his younger brother too, or maybe a grandpa in there too. I don't know. But then also the Chicolo family. So I've seen a handful of 3 different generations families in the NFL, which is pretty wild. A sports story I want to touch on this week that's going on right now that's really interesting. Michael Orr, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. You guys have heard of or seen the movie with Sandra Bullock called The Blind Side? I don't know if it's a Disney movie, but it was a huge deal. Sandra Bullock won a major award, maybe even Best Actress, for her portrayal of the woman who is the mother of the family, who took in Michael Oher to, and it's supposed to be this wonderful white savior story, basically. And it came out probably, I would say it was like 2011. It's 12 years ago, something like that. He's 37 now, so maybe it was even
good movie.
So Michael Oher this week has filed a lawsuit suing that woman who, the woman that Sandra Bullock played, saying that they sort of conned him into thinking that he, like, getting him involved with their family, and instead of doing an actual where they adopt him, it was just a conservatorship where basically they get to be in charge of all this. If I'm not mistaken, that's what Britney Spears' dad had over Britney Spears for so long, that finally ended over the last couple of years. So he found out that was actually what was happening. And so, that was this whole great story. He went on to have a pretty good career in the NFL. And now over a decade later, he found out that was not what he was told. And so about the situation and his involvement with this family, and now there's a lawsuit has come out just over the last week, which is it's mind-blowing, but it changes everything. And a number of people have coming out. There was just some stuff on Twitter be like, some of us who know the family, I hope they get treated exactly how they treat other people, making it seem like they're pretty awful human beings if you've ever had to deal with them in real life. And have kind of taken on the savior role.
That literally happened in the movie where they're talking about, like, were you influenced by your, like, in any way to choose a specific team that you're going to join the NFL with? And he's like, well, no, it's my family's team. That's why I'm choosing it. It was very Hartwell. That's terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had heard about that. News. It's wild.
Yeah. So that's just an interesting thing I want to talk about. I know we talked a little bit about sports movies and things like that, but that was my big piece of news for today that I wanted to throw out there, which is just, I mean, we'll see how it all ends, but it seems like it's going to be an ugly situation. And if that is true, which I'll just say it seems to be, I know nothing, but it just from what we know now,
the secrets will be revealed.
That I think hopefully this goes in the favor of Michael Oher when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll tune back in for justice.
Yeah. Yep. Then of course, when it comes to a lawsuit and court cases, it's like it'll be a year and a half before we actually have anything new-ish to say. Most likely. I mean, we'll see how that all goes. But you guys want to do some plugs and get out of here?
Yeah. That sounds good.
I'll go ahead and go first because I actually had one. I think in one of our previous plugs, I mentioned that I wanted to plug Dungeon Professor. I was incorrect on the title of that YouTube channel, so I wanted to just correct myself on that. The name of the channel is Dungeon Masterpiece, and I believe the host of that is the Dungeon Professor. But still go check that guy out now that you know what his actual channel name is, and for sure that is a really cool channel. I was just watching it today. Another one I wanted to mention was Krug Smash. That's KRUGG SMASH. And it's not a D&D channel. It's not a sports channel. It's a guy who makes Dwarf Fortress videos, which is a fantasy kind of simulation video game. And I just really like his channel. I think he makes really great stuff. And he has a criminally underrated amount of subscribers for all the work that he puts into his videos. He like hand draws like scenes from the game because it's like not a very visually like it used to be just ASCII art, like, and he would draw the scenes that were described in the text and then like color them in and do all sorts of crazy stuff and create these stories out of the simulator. And he's been doing it for a while, and I just feel like he doesn't get enough traffic his way, so go check him out. He's making awesome stuff.
That's right.
That's all I got for plugs.
What was
you
your
got a Paul Rudd movie?
Oh, Paul Rudd movie.
Don't think you're gonna just get out of this that easy.
I got two, bro. Let's go.
I'm gonna go with Role Models. That's the one.
You stole it. You stole mine.
I knew it. I knew it. That's why I went first.
I wanted to plug Role Models because it has Sean William Scott as well with Paul Rudd.
Full circle,
That's
folks.
true.
Full
It also has like LARPing and D&D and stuff in it.
It does have LARPing and D&D
yes,
and
dude,
nerds.
Her Whispering Eye.
Yeah.
Yes, or what's
It's a very funny movie.
It's very funny. Can
There's-
get
yeah,
vulgar
with,
for those of you who don't like
McLovin in there.
vulgarity.
Sure, rated R.
Get McLovin in there. My other one I was going to plug was Captain America: Civil War, Ant-Man and Iron Man, and
Yeah.
out of the MCU, that one is just
Circling
big
back.
Is that
hit
where
for
he
me.
debuts? Does he debut in that movie?
No, he was.
no,
Ant-Man had
Ant-Man. He
come
has-
out already. Yeah,
He has his little
In
solo
Civil War?
Ant-Man thing.
yeah. I think Ant-Man had already come out before Civil War.
Ant-Man, and then he goes into Civil War as his second. But
Yeah,
that we talked about Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. He's basically the same guy. And
Yeah, at this point.
Hawkeye and
It's
all
funny.
this stuff.
Now
good
in
movie.
Disney cartoons, when they have someone play the Iron Man role, they basically have that voice actor just do a Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
impersonation,
yeah.
not
It's hard
their
to
own
step away
take
from
on
now.
Iron Man. Yeah, exactly.
He's made it so iconic now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's him.
Been doing
Exactly.
it for what 20 years or so. I don't know how long.
2008,
I don't know when Iron Man came out. Yeah,
2008. Fact check me, internet. My
Hello.
only plug was my Instagram at Atlassian Maps, ATTLASIAN_maps on Instagram. I didn't have anything really else. Go watch NASCAR. We don't
and
talk
check
about
out Athletics Check podcast on YouTube. Check out our email us at athletics_check101@gmail.com. Check out our Discord, Athletics Check podcast on Discord. Yeah, just look at it, just check it out on all the things.
Don't forget TikTok, Athletics Check 101, Michael.
Yes, the
Easy
TikTok.
mode.
Huge plays.
Huge.
Who's sending us out?
I'll send us out of here. For
Okay.
my plugs, I want to say please check out Bass Buzz if you're a bass player. I think Bass Buzz on YouTube has some really good, fun videos. They're
I'm
good in and out cuts. The guy just continues to get better and better. He makes it very fun to learn, to listen, to play. It's motivating and it's funny and entertaining at times. I think his editing is just so well done. Check out Bass Buzz if you're a bass player. I think Bass Buzz does a really good job on the website and his YouTube page especially.
Is that Bass Buzz as in BUZZ?
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, Bass Buzz.
Oh, thank you for correcting. I
Yes.
heard buds like.
Oh, I got you. No,
like
Bass
friends.
Buzz.
BUZZ. Okay.
Like the bees.
And then for my Paul Rudd movie, I could choose 2007's I Could Never Be Your Woman, the rom-com with Michelle Pfeiffer, but I'm not going to.
Choice.
I'm instead going with 200 Cigarettes, which is Paul Rudd
Oh yeah.
and Dave Chappelle, which, okay, I just mentioned those two to you, and not many people have heard of the movie, but it's amazing. And it's a huge ensemble cast. It's not just Dave Chappelle and Paul Rudd, but that should be enough to get you to see it. Both Affleck brothers, Christina Ricci, Janine Garofalo, Courtney Love, Kate Hudson, Jay Moore, who I absolutely love. Elvis Costello's in the movie. You guys got to check this out. It's great. It's a 1980s New York City New Year's Eve, and Dave Chappelle is a taxi driver, and basically all these other people who I just mentioned are in New York City partying and going from party to party or bar to wherever else or punk show to this place, and they all kind of end up at the same party at the end of the night. And Dave Chappelle is kind of the connector to all these people, and he's taking them from, he's the cab driver, so he's taking them from place to place and dealing with all these people. And it is so much fun. It's such a great movie that not many people know about, but check out 200 Cigarettes if you love Paul Rudd and or Dave Chappelle or anyone else who I mentioned. It is such a fun movie.
That's wild.
Yes, yeah. We'll have to come back and talk about that one another time. But thank you guys so much for checking us out, and please like, subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being with us. For Michael and Tyler, I am Anthony. We will catch you next time on Athletics Check.
Bye.